Hey, welcome. I'm looking for a place to camp for about 6 weeks inside the United States. And I want it to be within say less than 3 miles from a supermarket, okay, and a library. Hopefully, a supermarket and library inside the United States. Kind of like Henry David Thoreau living in on Walden Pond and walking into Concord. I think he was like really like 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from Concord. And I'm going to live in a tent and hopefully a tent that I can stand up in. I already bought one last summer, but my goal is to kind of simulate what Henry David Thoreau had to live with in being in touch with nature. And contrary to what a lot of people think, I'm always trying to be in contact with nature. I don't take plastic bags. I just don't want to be a woo woo. These guys are nuts. They virtual signal. Okay, they're not really caring about the economy. They're caring about how people look at them. Okay, but I make sure I don't do a lot of different things that are bad for the environment. Okay, but what's going to happen here, and what I realized by talking to some Denmark people in the Hotel Victoria Posada Guitire here, Yader and Penachel, Guatemala. I'm in Lake Atalan. I'm in one of the most perfect climates possible. Okay, one of the most beautiful lakes, but for sure it's one of the most perfect climates. There's no need for air conditioning here. There's no need for furnaces. Okay, so I was talking to these Denmark people, and I guess in Denmark they don't have the freedom to roam or every man's right. If you want to go live very cheaply in Norway, Sweden, Finland, maybe some other countries, you can camp. And the question is, how long can I camp? But what I want to do is live less than 4 kilometers or 3 miles away from a city, whether I'm in the United States or in Europe. But I could probably go live, as timing, the stars are working together. I could go to Panama, then I could go through I could go to Medellin, Colombia, and go through the Darien Gap, and then fly to the United States, go to Monterey, California, then go to Indiana for a thing, then spend 3 months in Europe. And I'm trying to always adapt, okay? And I'm very good at it, but it's every single climate, every single place has a different thing. But the freedom to roam law is a law that's in, I'll tell you the countries right now. It's in Austria, Belarus, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, Scotland, Sweden, Switzerland, and Czech Republic. Okay, when I was in Ukraine, I saw people sleeping close to the beach in the thing. So this is kind of a European law. I mean, United States, I was trying to figure out how much it costs to live in Johnny Appleseed Park in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and so far I haven't been able to figure this out. I mean, it's probably going to cost as much to live in a park as it would to live for 1 month. But I want to live in a place that's close to two things, a supermarket and a library, so that I can have something to do. I mean, the United States can be very, very boring, okay, if you don't have a chance to go like to a coffee shop, a library, or whatever. And it's getting difficult. Okay, but with the right to roam, now remember this if you want to look it up on, or freedom to roam is the term you want. Every man's right or freedom to roam. The freedom to roam is going to come up with the easiest. Look it up on Wikipedia first. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go to the United States and test out my ability to live in a thing. I was working on this idea of a tiny home, which I think is a really great idea for people that retire. But it's not really needed for me because I don't really want to fight the climates. All I want to do is live cheaply in the United States for maybe spring and fall, maybe 4 months of the year. And I'm not going to live in harsh climates because I think even Henry David Thoreau was talking about this. He had a quote that this lady Minerva or whatever recommended that you have a movable lifestyle so that you can move away from your bad neighborhoods. And that's me. If I have any kind of complication with an area, I just move. And that's the reason why I don't want a tiny home. I don't want anything. I want to be able to say, hey, enough of this crap. Okay, but I've been living free for 25 years. But I got to test out how to live in the United States camping, and I could do it for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. And the biggest problem I'm having with the United States is the violence, the theft, and maybe the water damage. But the violence and the theft in the United States is becoming maybe it's not as bad as Central and South America. I mean, you can barely camp here in Central and South America, from Mexico to Chile. They'll rob everything. Okay, Southeast Asia you can probably camp, but it's so overpopulated, it's kind of horrible. Africa, I probably could camp, but it's just better to have a quality of life there of $10 a night for a room. But what I'm going to do is figure out how to live effectively in a place where there's theft and violence. And what that means is, okay, you're never going to stop theft. Okay, what you're going to do is keep the honest people honest. So I have to take the tent and make it so I can put a little padlock on it, and I got to make it a little bit difficult to do all these things, and learn how to hide things that strangely I could see myself living in a tent and actually storing some things outside the tent, like in the woods, because the tent is a target. So maybe when I leave, I would leave it in another place. But I'm also worried about water damage. Water damage is always complicated for computers and different things. So I think one of the benefits of being in Odessa, Ukraine, was the Black Sea has sweet water. What do you call it? Freshwater, non-salt water. We call it everywhere. They call it, just call it sweet water. Okay, I'm trying to keep my Spanish right. Okay, but I want to test living in the United States. So the requirements is it's close to a library. Okay, but I kind of got a box theory, and I'm trying to separate this into things. So I got different categories of things that you need in a tent: food and cooking, electrical, electronics, clothing, heating and cooling, how to stay warm, how to stay cool. My experiments, I'm always doing an experiment. How to do my exercise, how to take a shower, clean up, my backpacks, and miscellaneous stuff. But freedom to roam, that's the word you got to do. So you can actually, I could go to Lithuania, I could go to about 5 countries. Actually, it'd be tempting to go to Scotland if I could figure out where to go. Now, how to do this, I mean, my friend Bjorn he's looking into helping me stay in Norway, probably about 200 miles directly north of Oslo. And I could stay there, and then I'd have a friend I could talk to. It would be nice to fly into Scotland, spend about 5 weeks. Really, see, 30 days, it sounds like a great thing, but 6 weeks is better in anywhere you're going, because about the first 10 days, anywhere you're going. So say 40 days, anywhere you go is best. The first 10 days, you're doing a lot of adjustment. Okay, that's the reason why I truly think that people, when they go abroad, they ought to go for almost at least 3 weeks, because the first week's going to be just a waste of energy in a lot of ways, unless you just want to work. Okay, and that's what most people do. They don't enjoy what they're doing. They all they get to do is say that they went and they saw everything, and they get to brag about it, but the actual enjoyment was almost to zero. Okay, so the freedom to roam, the right to roam. Okay, and so I would stay in each of these locations until I've explored the location. And as a rule of thumb for Andy Lee Graham, what I do, and I highly recommend, is you stay in a location until you've sort of taken all the pictures you could take, all the videos you could make, met all the different people, until you start to get bored with the same routine. I'm addicted to travel. That means that I need to be in a different location. Like I just moved from San Pedro, La Laguna to Panajachel because I needed something different. I was losing my mind. But I stayed here specifically for my sister Candy so she could have a vacation. Really hard on me. Good for her, but hard on me because they only came for like 7 days, and it was me being here about 4 or 5 months was a killer. I don't want to be here. I consider some of the expats and the dogs and the motorcycles and the tuk-tuk noise has got out of control. The missionaries are still haven't arrived, which is the fourth problem with these places. Every expat location has a problem, but expats are not necessarily the people best to associate with. They are often the people that are losers or fools in America that go abroad thinking that it's going to be easier, which it is. And they want to be a big fish in a little pond. And they almost always are angry at the USA. I'm not angry at the USA. I'm not happy with the USA. But I'll stay until the only reason to stay longer in a place, like I'm here against my will in a way, is if you have friends. Like I used to have a friend, James Easter, and different people here in Penachel that I would come. And like I had Sylvan and Tom, Sylvan from France and Tom from Germany that were in Togo, and they're no longer there. Almost everybody goes back home. And COVID like made it so like 80% of the people went back home. Okay, but the requirements for each of these locations is I got to be able to walk to the city. I don't want to be forced to drive. I don't mind if there was happen to be like I don't even mind camping inside the city, except it becomes more dangerous probably. But I got to be about 1 to 2 mile walk, maybe 3 mile maximum, and then that would be about 4 kilometers. So I got to be. I'm going to create my traveler's nest, which is normally centered around a supermarket. In most of the countries outside the United States, it's there's a like an open air market, right? One of the problems with the United States is it's very hard to eat naturally without paying a lot of money. I want to be close to a library. I would like to be close to McDonald's because McDonald's has very cheap coffee, very good, better than Guatemala, strangely. But the coffee in McDonald's is great. Costs from 25 cents to 80 cents for a refillable cup. In Guatemala, it's like minimum $1.20, and it's normally $2, and it's non-refillable. Okay, so I really like the coffee there. And McDonald's has Wi-Fi, and I can just sit there. It's a really nice climate for me to work. I need a solar panel for my laptop. That's going to be the tough one. How to have a battery. You can't take a battery on a plane, okay? So, I mean, you can take these little memory, like 5,000 AHM things. I have 3 of these right now. One of them blew up for some reason, or broke. And but you can't take like a full-size battery on a plane. It's really tough to transport any kind of batteries on planes. So I need a solar panel and a way to store the battery. So what I would really try to do is get, normally I would try to get motorcycle batteries. Okay, but the hope would be that I could charge up the battery on my computer enough to use it for, see, I use my computer like at least 8 hours a day. I use it to entertainment, I watch movies, whatever. And I need to be able to spend about 6 weeks in each one of these locations. So those are the requirements. The climate, and this is where people don't, they allow their boss to send them on vacations at the worst time of the year, or they do the worst possible thing and like go on vacation at Christmas, Easter. I'm worried right now that the end of March is Semana Santa or Easter here in Guatemala and all of Central and South America. And I have to lock in for about a week that week and stay in a place where they don't raise or triple the rent. Sometimes they quadruple the rent on that week. And Christmas, and people that go on trips at Christmas are really spending the most amount of money possible. What you should do, in my opinion, is arrange your trip and then ask the boss for the time off and say, this is the dates where I can go cheap and let me off on those days. But I'm going to follow the climate. So Europe is very difficult because all of Europe is about the same latitude above the equator as Canada, okay? Like I probably could go camp someplace in Canada if somebody invited me and I could stay, but I want to be close to a village. I don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere. And I think Henry David Thoreau, when he lived in Walden Pond, you know, he had 3 chairs. He put one chair outside his place when he wanted visitors. And he was not in a place where there was no people. Okay. He was still being very sociable. And this is kind of a tricky thing he did. I think it was less than 2 mile walk to the city. So probably right now, I don't know. But climate, I've got to do it. So what I do to figure out the climate is I do climate data, Oslo, Norway, and it will give me up the rain and all the temperatures for the whole year. And then I try to get it so that it's not too hot. The too hot is my bigger worry, not too cold. Too hot in a tent. I mean, if you got direct sunlight on top of a van when you're living in a van, it's a sauna. Okay, it's miserable. I lived in a van for almost 3 or 4 months when I was trying to travel the United States, and it's horrible. Okay, living in a car or whatever, it's just horrible. This is, you know how you get in your car and it's way hot and it's like burning? That's what it's like to live in a car. And I'm not, I have no desire really to travel the United States or Australia unless I was with somebody. But transportation, there's another topic. I need to be close to a bus or walking or cheap taxis. I'm highly doubting that in the United States or Europe, I'm going to find anything cheaper than a bus system. The United States in Fort Wayne, Indiana is really where I'd like to live for 6 months. No, 6 weeks. It has a pretty good bus system, but it's like every hour. I remember being in Tours, France, and I went and seen Rene Descartes' house, and I had to sit there and wait I was laying on the sidewalk for about 2 hours, 3 hours, waiting for the bus. Everybody wants to act like Europe's got great public transport. It does inside the big cities, about the same as the United States. Okay, the bigger problem, and always the biggest problem, would be theft. And I normally say to hide in plain sight. I'm going to look like I'm really poor, okay? So one of the things I have to do is store my backpack, the majority of my stuff, in a different place. So this is going to be kind of easy in the United States, but it would be more difficult in Europe. So luckily I have a couple friends in Europe where I could leave the bulk of my stuff. I'm having a lot of problems. I want to go to Panama. I want to sit there for about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and figure out and talk to all the immigrants leaving the Darien Gap, supposedly. Who knows if they're really doing this right. And then I would like to leave the majority of my backpack there and fly to Medellin, Colombia, then come back through the Darien Gap, and then come by land all the way back to wherever the airport's cheapest to the United States. But hiding in plain sight is a strategy I always do. Is I never want to look too rich. The guys that got on the zip-off leg pants and the camera hanging on the thing, the zip-off leg pants says, "Rob me." You don't want to wear these things. They are sure, it's like having the airplane tags on your bag. Take them off. They are telling everybody you're a newbie, you're really naive, and you want to brag about it. But I'm trying to figure out how I could maybe I could dig a hole under the back of the tent and make a little safe that's waterproof or something and store some stuff. But it's according to how many people are watching. Heat and cold. I'm not sure I really need I'm not sure I really need a sleeping bag. They take up a lot of room. And they're not very versatile. I'd rather have like one of these Mexican blankets. I think maybe I still got one at home. I just left one in Nicaragua. But these Mexican blankets are really like wool. And then you can have these layers, and I would get a piece of visqueen plastic. Visqueen plastic and put over the top of your thing is probably better than a sleeping bag, okay? Because all the heat stays in. So I'd get a very thin piece of visqueen plastic and cover myself up and try to make myself cool. But again, the bigger problem I expect to have would be more with the heat during the day. Normally, it'd be nice to get underneath a tree and then have a big canopy, like a big piece of cloth that is really light duty, super light duty, and whatever. I got my 10 box theory. I have a box theory on how I live. I keep things in separate categories according to the box. Hard to understand. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I have these different categories. So the different categories are, let me see if I can tell you the different categories. Where did it go to? The different categories of my box inside my room is food and cooking stuff, electrical, electronic stuff, clothing, hangers, things like that, heating or cooling, fans and how to stay hot, how to stay warm. That means blankets and stuff, shelter, things I need to exercise, um, shower things like shampoo, different things, and my backpack and I should add my vest there. I'm going to add that right there. My vest becomes what happens is my vest and my pants become my storage of valuable things when I'm in a room. I had this vest with 32 pockets that I was manufacturing here actually in Guatemala. Okay, but then I got a miscellaneous stuff. But most of the stuff I store in either a gallon or quart Ziploc bags. I'm laughing because I'm having a lot of problem finding good Ziploc bags. They got them Ziploc, but they don't really stay locked, right? Okay, so I'm going to try to figure out a way to make electricity with solar so that I can somehow charge the battery. The biggest problem I got to solve is going to be how to have electricity. Okay, that doesn't mean I can't go to McDonald's, plug in and charge for like 2 hours, or the library and charge for 2 hours. And can I charge up everything fast enough in 4 hours of being in the city? I'm not trying to live in nature. I'm not trying to be a foolish person. Even Thoreau would talk about this, and he says, we've paid so much for our civilization, you might as well enjoy it, right? But electrical, solar, and batteries. So the battery's the big deal, and bigger deal is I can't carry a battery on a plane. It's really tough. I will call up the planes though and see if I can check the bag and see what the situation is. Maybe I can make some sort of this is one reason why I don't have a drone, is because I got about a 50-50 chance they're going to take the drone away with me, even if I obey all the laws. You can understand the people that work in immigration, TSA, and all these things, they don't know all the laws. They just make them up as they go, and they got you by the short hairs, right? One thing I would like to do is figure out how to put wheels on the bag. I've been thinking for a while about walking across the United States. And the problem is I couldn't really leave until the next person invited me to stay in their backyard or something like that. Then I would camp out. I'm going to stay in a lot of people's guest rooms. I'm going to stay in a guest room in Monterey, California. And it's hard, people think like I can't trust Andy. And the bigger deal is I can't trust the people I live with. Because a lot of them, the biggest problem I have is they want me to agree that everything they're doing is intelligent. And they want to talk about travel endlessly, and they want me to be a tour guide. They want me to go with them, and they want to give me the tour guide. So I would like to have one of these. They used to have them all the time. Most of the time when I go to Europe, I get one of these 2-wheel carts that folds up. You take them on the plane real easy. And then I could put all my bags in there and I could walk around. Normal problem with those things are the handles are not long enough to really walk comfortably. So I want some wheels that I can put on. I don't want wheels on my bag. Okay, they just break and your bag's worthless. I'll have to deal with my clothing. I'll have to deal with the electrical and electronics. I'm always dealing with this. I'm going to go to the United States and try to live and test to avoid getting robbed, okay? And that means I'm going to have very few things worth robbing for. What's the things that people rob the most? If they hear music, they normally will rob you, okay? If you have high value things like an Apple computer, an iPhone, but playing any kind of music is a way to attract criminals. Okay, I'm here in Lake Athlon, And I'm going to fly, I hope, soon to Panama. And then what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go sit there. But I've got to prepare myself for mosquitoes. So like I've got a whole bunch of things I got to buy. I got to buy a long sleeve shirt. I have to do all these same things for United States. You got to buy a shirt with sleeves. You got to put away to close off the bottom of your pants so mosquitoes don't climb in. You got to take. I'll put a bottom on. I bought another mosquito net. And I'll put a bottom on it, and then a door on it. Most mosquito nets are really kind of worthless. You cannot sleep or touch a mosquito net. They will sting. Mosquitoes will go right through it. And actually, in the United States, the mosquitoes are worse than here. Okay, mosquitoes in the tropics are not even slightly as bad as spring in the United States with so much water. It's all about water, guys. And funny world. How to make my coffee in the morning. How to exercise. I keep looking for the perfect wheels that could. I would really like to have like inflatable wheels, but it just becomes too complicated, right? On a two-wheel cart, so I could walk across the United States and just carry the cart, but not so big that nobody would pick me up if I was hitchhiking, right? But I'm here and you're not. Why not? I'm very good at strategies. For a few of you keep asking me about shorts. I have about 14, 15 channels. And if you go to the bottom of my thing, I'm putting all my shorts on all these other things. The long ones are on my main channel. And the shorts, like I made 2 or 3 shorts this morning, one on biohacking and the other one on strategies and the other one on, I'll make a lot of travel tips. I make a lot of travel tips. And they're really short. They're really quick. They're less than a minute, right? Normally, they're less than 15 seconds. Okay. But I'm here and you're not. Why not? It's because I'm very good at being an example on how to adapt. It's all about the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual adaptation. Okay. I have a Patreon connection now, and in the link, I would really, anybody that would like to ever contact me or ever wants to talk to me, I'm only going to be talking to the people that are doing the minimum Patreon, which is $5. Okay. And I'm making sure that nobody gets near me anymore unless they are a Patreon. Okay. Why is that? I've had enough. I'm tired of talking. Most Americans and Europeans and people that want to talk to me are angry at the United States. That's why they want to talk to me. And that's not why I want to talk to them. I want to talk to people that are successful in the United States, that are winners, that want to take on the world, that just want to go be an explorer. I don't want to talk to the people that are leaving the United States because they think something's wrong with the United States. There's nothing wrong with any country. They're all okay. But please become a Patreon and help me to go to all these locations. As always, I got in my thing, if you look at all the links that are there, there's a couple things on being a consultant or a coach and different things, different ways I'd like to earn money. But my biggest deal is I want to make friends. And I'm really looking for a lot of people that want to have somebody that's an expert on the world live with them for 30 days so I can explain the world. And that would, for somebody that's thinking of actually moving abroad, this would save you about $10,000. I mean, I can mix and match and tell you all the pros and cons of most of the travel destinations on the planet. It's not that easy, guys. You move to another culture, you're going to have cultural fatigue, cultural shock. It's going to be an emotional thing. It's not money. It's an emotional problem. The reason why I can travel to 114 countries for 25 years is an emotional, my ability to handle my emotions. You can too. Okay, anybody can travel the world. It's just got to go slower. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what. Anybody can travel the world. They just got to learn how to make the little sequential, slow movements into a location. I'm 65 plus. I'm here and you're not. Why not? Hit the subscribe button. Go to the Patreon link in the description. Bye-bye. Life is good.